The following programme is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language and flashing imagery.
All well, it has been a beautiful week here in the city of Newcastle. We're 24 hours away from fight night at the Utilita Arena. We'll be showcasing a bright crop of up-and-coming fighters from the northeast. Top of the bill, Cyrus Pattinson in his first proper domestic test at 147 pounds against the former British and Commonwealth champion Chris Jenkins tomorrow night live on DAZN. Well, thanks to all of you for tuning in yesterday for our new format, press conference. We had a little sofa day.
Comfy, weren't we?
I thought it was really good, yeah. Got to chat to some of the fighters in a little bit more detail. So thanks to all of you that messaged us about that. We've got 9 fights total for you on Saturday. Lots of interesting fighters on the bill. Bit of beef between Robert Ismay and Solomon Dakers, which is nice leading into an English heavyweight title fight. And actually, you need to see Sol Dakers in a bit of a psychological test as well as a physical one.
Yeah, and I feel he'll get that. I don't know how long this fight will last, so don't blink. Yeah. But I think with what Rob Ismay said, he's made a lot about the weight the size of Sol Dakers. I feel there's going to be no other approach than get in his face, rough him up, and try and unsettle the guy with the better pedigree, you could say. You know, he's in his home town. Rob Ismay, 11 fights, unbeaten, saying, you know, I'm the bigger puncher out of the two as a heavyweight. I've got more stoppages than you, and it's been feisty. It's
been good. Really nice to see Hopey Price in a different phase of his career now, looking to move 10-0, of course, tomorrow night at 122 pounds. Dave Colwell said this is very much now the time where the next 4 or 5 fights will be him in against former world champions, slightly past their prime, or maybe from a lower weight division, because of course you want to stack the odds in the favour of the fighter you're trying to build up. But you also need guys in there that know a lot more than he does and have been a lot more rounds than he's been.
Yep, exactly that. Big fan of Hopey Price. I think we all agree it was just a case of that physical strength, that man strength, maturity coming in, and we're seeing that now. And it really is aiding and helping his performances. He's looking very spiteful, very dangerous. And talking to Frank yesterday, I asked him the question, you know, Josh Warrington on his way out, if you like, coming to the end of his career, you need new stars, you know, in what you call a one-club city. Yep. Legion, a huge fan base there, and Hopey Price is certainly one of those guys they'll build around.
Yeah, Frenchman Thomas Masson was European champion a couple of weights below, challenged Daigo Higa for the world title as well, and challenged for the European against another slick southpaw a couple of years ago. And box well too, he's a pressure fighter, will bring it to Hopey Price. Can he take him 10 rounds for the first time? That one's scheduled for about 8 o'clock Saturday night. Callum French will be opening the bill, a number of Berkeley boys on the card as well, Mark Dickinson, and of course top of the bill, Cyrus Pattinson. And I mentioned yesterday briefly just the journey that he went on in the amateurs. I remember seeing him in the WSB a couple of times and went out for that Olympic qualifier. He gets so close to going to Rio, and actually things could have been very different had he done. But also I think he looks back and sees that he needed time to develop and mature as a fighter to get to this point.
Yeah, and let me tell you, those heartaches, if you like, in the amateurs will really build his mental toughness, and he's going to need that tomorrow night, because the natural progression is to build to a main event. You might have 10, 15 fights. Sick fight for Cyrus. Yeah. You know, he's the main event in front of his adoring fans, all screaming in, you know, and shouting his name, wanting this new star to come through in the city. So those sort of hardships that he had in the amateurs will help him deal with the pressure that is in front of him on Saturday night.
Yeah, and Chris Jenkins, still plenty left. In his early 30s, watch his last 3 or 4 fights. I know he hasn't had the rub of the green, but he's boxed very, very well indeed. I think it's a great fight, top of the bill. Lots of fighters to weigh in, so let's get them on the stage. And David Diamante is standing by. Let's head down to him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, happy St. Patrick's Day. It's lovely to see everybody here in Newcastle, England. for the official weigh-in for our big Next Gen show taking place here tomorrow night at the Utilita Arena in Newcastle, England. Of course, all the action is brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing, and it'll go out live around the world exclusively on DAZN, and will be sponsored by Betfred, Stagefront, and JD Sports. It's really a wonderful fight card. We've got 9 fights on the card with 3 title fights. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring the fighters up to the stage so they can face the scale and face each other. Our first contest, 4 rounds in the super bantamweight division. Now making his way to the stage, he's a 7-fight veteran hailing from Manchester, England. Please welcome Sean Jackson. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. Saturday night, he's making his much anticipated professional debut, fighting out of Leicester. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Muhammad Ali. Now the scale, Sean Jackson. 122.1 for Sean Jackson, 122.1. And now to the scale for the very first time as a professional, Muhammad Ali. $123.65 for Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali versus Sean Jackson's 4-round super bantamweights Matchroom Boxing live on DAZN from Newcastle, England.
Sean Jackson and Muhammad Ali both looking in really good shape there. Muhammad Ali's debut, Dave Coldwell trained a long-term project, Coldwell said to me a couple of days ago, and I asked him whether he'll settle at 122, 118. I think they'll see where the opportunities come as and when they're ready, but there's no rush with him, and he's managed by Sam Jones, who knows what he's doing and will guide him through the right path.
I mean, he's in safe hands, 3-time national champion. He can obviously fight, but I'll never get used to his name being read out.
No.
Muhammad Ali is incredible.
Nice bit of value. Maisie Rose Courtney second on the bill against Bukra El Qaisi from Catalunya in Spain. Had her debut, as some of you tuned in yesterday, on the Katie Taylor bill as the live float. Ended up being chief support in front of about 7,000 people at Wembley, supporting one of her idols. And I have to say, you learn a lot about a young prospect in that kind of scenario, because you're thrown in really at the deep end there, and she dealt with it brilliantly.
Yeah, I know Maisie really, really well. She's tough as old boots. She really is. For someone so young, she's mentally switched on. She wants this. She really, really wants this. She's got so much desire to go on and emulate what Katie Taylor's done, and yeah, big fan.
Good stuff. Well, she's ready to weigh in, as is El Qaisi. Let's head back to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 4 rounds in the super flyweight division. Now making her way to the stage with a professional record of 3 wins, 4 defeats, 3 draws, and 1 win coming by way of knockout. Presentando de Roda de Ter, Catalunya, España. Damas y caballeros, Bushra, Misil, El Qaisi. And her opponent now making her way to the stage. Her young professional record thus far perfect. 1 fight, 1 victory. Here is the 6-time amateur national champion, fighting out of Eltham, London, England, Maisie Rose. Now to the scale, Misil, Bushra, El Qaisi. 114.2 for Bushra El Qaisi. 114.2. And out of the scale, Maisie Rose. 114.2 for Maisie Rose. 114.2. Maisie Rose, Bushra El Kwaise, 4-round super flyweights, Matchroom Boxing live on DAZN from Newcastle, England.
Both making the agreed £115 limit, just coming in half a pound under for both. Maisie Rose Courtney, you can see she's had a good camp, looking in really good shape.
Yeah, Kev and Tony have got her in great shape. Brilliant preparations, as always, from the team. And yeah, looking forward to seeing her tomorrow night.
Yeah, certainly. Adam Rijkaard up next. He's one of 4 Berkeley boys on the card, 5 if you include Pat McCormack as an ex-Berkeley boy. But of course, I think he will always be adopted in that group. Rijkaard up against Yafius Fayour. Somebody we haven't seen loads of, but he looks good so far. Spoke well yesterday. Looking forward to seeing him in action.
Yeah, he's buzzing to be back fighting at the Metro Arena again, where he had his debut. Very passionate about his home city. So yeah, looking forward to him also.
Okay, his opponent Yafius Fayour is ready to weigh in, so let's get both of them to the stage. Here's David.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 4 rounds in the lightweight division. Now making his way to the stage, he's a 12-fight veteran fighting out of Oldbury in the West Midlands. Please welcome the Mini-Man, Yafius Fayour. Move up in weights, 8 rounds middleweight division, now making his way to the stage. His professional record, 5 wins, 3 defeats. He fights out of Barry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Machine, Ben Ridings. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His professional record, a perfect one. 4 fights, 4 victories, one of them coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of West Rankton, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Dickinson. Out of the scale, Ben Ridings. $166.6 for Ben Ridings. 166.6. And out of the scale, the undefeated Mark Dickinson. $161.5 for Mark Dickinson. 161.5. Mark Dickinson, Ben Ridings, 8 rounds, middleweights, Matchroom Boxing, live on DAZN.
Boxing on DAZN, presented by William Hill.
Deliveroo presents Decision Time. You want everything. But what's it going to be this time? Pizza. Yes. I love you. Scrap that. Burger's in town. Come and dance, you delicious meaty beauty. Chicken. Go on, have a think bite. Rain down, you crispy. Oh, Tim's ordered noodles. Decision made. Order now. Deliveroo. Food, we get it.
So massive, heavy-handed for the I think it was Central Area title, wasn't it? He will bring the fight, and even if Dickinson does start to get to him, he will go out on his shield.
That's why Ben Ridings is always a good opponent. You know, he comes to win. He gets stuck in. Callum Simpson, when he fought him, he just didn't give him a second to breathe. And I kind of feel you've got to beat the fight out of him. And I can imagine that would be a similar sort of tactic from Mark Dickinson, who's more polished, but he's naturally aggressive. So I imagine he will try and set from the off, get the centre ring, and put it on ridings.
Well, he's back at the Berkeley Boxing Club after a stint with Ben Davison, Lee Wiley and the guys. They're back with his old stable mates, and one of them, Callum French, a two-time ABA champion, double European medalist, is up first on the live card on DAZN in against Jordan Ellison, one of the best circuit fighters around. This is a lightweight contest scheduled over 8 rounds. Both fighters are ready to weigh in.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest hit the scales, 8 rounds in the lightweight division. And now making his way to the stage, he's a 61-fight veteran hailing from Seaham County, Durham. Please welcome Jordan Ellison. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His young professional record thus far perfect. 3 fights, 3 victories, one of them coming by way of knockout. Here is the former Team GB amateur standout and the 2019 European bronze medalist, fighting out of Gateshead, Frenchie, Callum French. Now to the scale, Jordan Ellison. $139.8 for Jordan Ellison, 139.8 for the man from County Durham. And now to the scale, Frenchie, Callum French. $138 bang on for Callum French, 138 bang on for the undefeated man from Gateshead. Callum French, Jordan Ellison, 8 rounds at lightweights, matchroom boxing, live on DAZN from Newcastle, England.
That was like that moment, Chris. Well, you look away. No, you look away.
Yeah, I honestly thought they were both going to laugh. I think they both quite enjoyed that. Callum French and Jordan Ellison, who's taken some very good fighters at the distance. Most recently, Reece Mould, the English champion, he went 10 rounds with him. He's taken John O'Callaghan the distance, Lewis Ritson over, I think, 6 or 8 rounds. So I think this is probably likely to go a few rounds at very, very least. But good to have Callum French out again, starting the bill, and it'd be great to see Hobie Price back in action, one of the top 122-pound prospects in the country, in against a very experienced former world title challenger, former European champion in Frenchman Thomas Masson. Both fighters are ready to weigh in.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we weigh in the first of our 3 title contests as we go 10 rounds for the vacant WBA Continental Super Bantamweight Championship. And now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 20 victories, 5 defeats, 1 draw, with 7 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Pas-de-Calais, France. Please welcome Thomas Masson. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, his professional record, absolutely perfect. 9 fights, 9 victories, 3 of them coming by way of knockout. Here is the skilled young southpaw, proudly fighting out of Leeds, England, Hopi Price. And now to the scale, Thomas Masson. .8 for Thomas Masson. 120.8 for Thomas Masson. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Hopi Price. .4 for the undefeated Hopi Price, 121.4. Hopi Price, Thomas Masson, 10 rounds for the vacant WBA Continental Super Bantamweight Championship. Matchroom Boxing, live on DAZN from Newcastle, England.
I thought was really interesting was when I mentioned to Hopi Price yesterday about Inoue and Fulton fighting for Undisputed, and he said, I'm not just watching these fighters in awe, I'm thinking already about how I'm going to beat them. How far can this young man go? Dave Caldwell certainly thinks all the way. He's got a good test in Thomas Masson, second on the bill over 10 rounds. How far can the Frenchman push him tomorrow night? And how far can Robert Ismay push Solomon Dakers? Plenty of back and forths at the press conference yesterday. English heavyweight title on the line. Will we get a little bit of pre-fight fireworks on the stage? Both fighters are ready to weigh in.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, I absolutely can't wait. It's a Nixon Hill. 2 young undefeated fighters go head-to-head as they vie for the vacant English Heavyweight Championship. And now making his way to the stage, like I said, his professional record, absolutely perfect. 11 fights, 11 victories, 4 of them coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Wallsend, Newcastle. Here's the undefeated Geordie Robert, the Iceman Ismay. And And his opponent now making his way to the stage. Also a perfect professional record. 5 fights, 5 victories. One of them coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Birmingham. Ladies and gentlemen, Sullivan, the real deal Dakers. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, the Iceman, Robert Ismay. Now to the scale, the Iceman, the undefeated Robert Ismay. $262.4 for Robert Ismay, $262.4 for the undefeated Jordy, the Iceman. And now to the scale, the undefeated Sullivan, the real deal Dakers. $236.7 for Solomon Dakers, $236.7 for the undefeated Robbie. Sullivan Dakers, Robert Ismay, Birmingham v. Newcastle, Nixon Hill, 2 undefeated fighters, 10 rounds for the vacant English Heavyweight Championship, Matchroom Boxing, live on DAZN from Newcastle, England.
Now from up here in our little ivory tower, I wrote down 236 after Sol Dakers stepped on the scales, and then you went to me 246.
But I've got terrible hearing.
Yeah, so have I. And I've got one earpiece in, and we've got speakers right behind us, so I'm not sure. I think it's 36 because he's weighed in, I think, 238 the last couple, or mid to high 230. So it'd be strange if he came into. What we do know for sure is that Ismay was 262.4 pounds, which is considerably heavier than his career heaviest. Doesn't look in great shape, have to be honest here, and he's going to be relying in a shot in the dark. The more Dakers gets involved, the more likely that is to happen. But I get the sense that you're expecting a bit of a shutout here.
Yeah, look, I mean, on paper, certainly, he's got a lot of desire, ambition, Ismay. He's unbeaten. To get a little technical, he needs to get on the chest of Dakers. That's easier said than done. He's got to unsettle him out, hustle him, and try and outwork him. And yeah, basically take him out of his rhythm. But it's so difficult because though he's very laid back, Dakers, in his personality, he's a very good fighter. When he gets in his rhythm, very, very hard to beat. And I just feel Ismay more than likely will walk onto one.
Yeah, I mentioned that fight with Mihai Nistor in the WSB over 5 rounds. Obviously, we've seen him as a pro against Sokolowski and Bracamonte, big, strong men who can fight a bit. And he's always looked like he has time and space, even when he is under pressure. He's not an easy man to close down and to get close to. We'll see how Robert Ismay is able to do that or not tomorrow. 10 rounds for the vacant English heavyweight title, third on the bill before arguably the most successful amateur boxer ever to come out of these shores, Pat McCormack, Olympic silver medalist at welterweight from Tokyo, in against Darius Sochi, who had a hell of a scrap with Troy Williamson a couple of years ago. What sort of resistance can he put up from McCormack? 8 rounds scheduled in our chief support. Both fighters are ready to weigh.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to weigh in the chief support of the evening for Saturday night's big night of action taking place at the Utilita Arena here in Newcastle. Now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 15 victories, 7 defeats, 2 draws, with 6 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Salerno, Campania, Italia. Please welcome the Italian Trouble, Dario Sochi. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His young professional record thus far perfect. 3 fights, 3 victories, 2 of them coming by way of knockout. Here is the 2-time Olympian and the 2018 Commonwealth Games gold medalist, fighting out of Washington in the northeast of England. Please welcome Pat McCormack. And out of the scales, Dario Sochi. And now the scales from Washington in the northeast of England, the undefeated Pat McCormack. .151.8 for Pat McCormack, 151.8.
Boxing on DAZN, presented by William Hill.
Deliveroo presents Decision Time. You want everything. But what's it going to be this time? Pizza. Yes. I love you. Scrap that. Burger's in town. Come and dance, you delicious meaty beauty. Chicken. Go on, have a pink bite. Rain down, you crispy. Oh, Tim's ordered noodles. Decision made. Order now. Deliveroo. Food, we get it.
He's just levels above Sochi, who has a nice bloke, had a good conversation with him yesterday. He fancies the job. He really is going to leave it all in the ring, but he's in there with such a special talent.
Yeah, he's unbelievably durable though, and he will bring the fight as and when he can, and he certainly won't be afraid of going out on his shield. It's 8 rounds though, and McCormack he's only had 3 fights so far, so it would be about round management for him as well. Really looking forward to seeing him back in action in our chief support. That's Pat McCormack and Latsios Dario Sochi, and there is the main man, Cyrus Pattinson, in against the former British and Commonwealth champion Chris Jenkins in our main event at 147 pounds. There is Chris Jenkins. Both fighters are ready to weigh in, so let's head over to David.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy St. Patrick's Day. Good afternoon and welcome to Newcastle, England for the official weigh-in for our big night of fights taking place at the Utilita Arena here in Newcastle on Saturday night. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We're sponsored by Betfred, Stagefront, and JD Sports. And all the action will go out live around the world exclusively on DAZN. And it's now time to weigh in the featured bout of the evening, as Mr. Eddie Hearn is proud to present 10 rounds of boxing for the vacant WBA International Welterweight Championship. And now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 23 victories, 6 defeats with 3 draws. He has 8 wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome the former British welterweight champion, the former Commonwealth welterweight champion, and the former WBC International Super Lightweight champion, fighting out of Astrid, Gunlice, Swansea, Wales, rock and roller, Chris Jenkins. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, his professional record, a perfect one. 5 fights, 5 victories, 3 of them coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Newcastle, England by way of Anik. Please welcome Cyrus Pattinson. And now to the scale, rock and roller, Chris Jenkins. $146.5 for Chris Jenkins, 146.5 for the man from Swansea, Wales. And now to the scale, the undefeated Cyrus Pattinson. $146.4 for the undefeated Cyrus Pattinson. Cyrus Pattinson, Chris Jenkins, 10 rounds for the vacant WBA International Welterweight Championship. Matchroom Boxing live on DAZN from Newcastle, England.
Well, I'll tell you what, Darren, we've seen Cyrus in some very, very good nick the last couple of years. He is in unbelievable shape. You don't need to guess what sort of camp he's had heading into this one. That is the shape of his life, and he will be looking to put on the performance of his life tomorrow.
He will. You know, a future star of this city. They're desperate for a new star, and I feel this man has the ability to go all the way. He really, really is a very, very good fighter. Like you say, looks in tremendous shape. So does Chris Jenkins. You know, in the twilight years of his career, he understands that another defeat would really, you know, kind of close the curtains on a good career. So he has to put in a good performance and put that all into the hat. No doubt it'd be a good fight.
Yeah, but I think we've seen with Chris Jenkins, his record of the last 2 or 3 fights doesn't really reflect the performances. Look, I love Tyrone McKenna, big fan of him as a person, as a fighter, but I couldn't see any way that he got the decision in that fight. For Jenkins by far outworked him. Against Florian Marco, he got caught with a very good shot because he got a little bit greedy, but he was boxing rings around him until the 4th. He's got plenty left to offer. Cyrus Pattinson, though, against Yorick Lasseto last time out, really put it all together, and we saw the kind of complete performance that I think we need to see tomorrow night, but probably what we're likely to see.
I think we'll see a cagey first few rounds, and as the fight starts progressing, I just think we'll see the class, the youth of Cyrus Pattinson really start to take over. But he'll be in there, Chris Jenkins, for as long as it lasts. He'll be in there giving it his all.
Technical, he's a good pressure fighter, he knows what he's doing, and this could be the last roll of the dice for him. All leading to a really good show tomorrow night in Newcastle. Muhammad Ali making his debut against Sean Jackson on Before the Bell. Maisie Rose Courtney, Bukar El Kaisi, Adam Rijkaard and Yafar Sfoya, Mark Dickinson and Ben Ridings. Those 4 fights starting around about 4:50. Myself, Barry Jones and Darren will be jumping in and out. I think we've got Shed Park with us as well on the commentary desk, so do join us on the Matchroom Boxing YouTube channel there. And then we'll be heading to DAZN live at 7 o'clock. Callum French and Jordan Ellison in action to start us off. Hopey Price in against Thomas Masson over 10 rounds. Really good fight that should be. Solomon Dakers and Robert Ismay contest the English vacant heavyweight title before Pat McCormack gets in against the experienced Darius Sochi, before Cyrus Pattinson and Chris Jenkins, the former British and Commonwealth welterweight champions, do battle in the Newcastle arena. From Darren and myself, thanks for your company this afternoon at the weigh-in. We will see you tomorrow on Fight Night.
One of the highest rated talents on the British scene right now.
I'm getting older and I'm getting better.
Long-term prospects from the northeast.
High quality fighter, really is a special talent.
There's very talented fighters, and then there's Pat McCormack.
Outgunned, overmatched, outworked by Cyrus Pattinson.
The best shot of his professional career so far.
This is first time under the lights. This is the first time he's been in a big occasion. This is why these next gen shows are so important.